We all know that word of mouth is the best form of advertising, and that the word of mouth has been disrupted by social media. So how does small business stay on top of what's being said about them? How does small business use word of mouth to grow in this age of social media? What they need is know to grow.
Preview.
Know to grow is to give the power that big business have in managing social media and analysing social media and bringing that down to a scale that small business can use. So there are many advances in the analytics and management of social media that big business are taking advantage of, such as machine learning algorithms to understand sentiment analysis and managing the responses to those messages online. What Know to Grow aims to do is to give small businesses a chance to tap into that technology, use it for themselves to control that word of mouth marketing that's happening out there on Facebook and Pinterest and whatever the next social platform is, and giving them a chance to respond in a positive way and place advertising and other messages in those social media outlets to help promote their business and grow their business. So let's look at the problem being solved. What we're trying to do is give businesses an effective social media manager that allows them to look at the good and the bad sentiment being shared about them on those particular platforms. Now, it's a very time-consuming task for a small business owner to look over all the social media platforms, yet each of those social media platforms can contain sentiment that could either be very beneficial to a company or in fact could be quite negative to a company. So once they understand the sentiment on those particular channels, they'll be able to effectively influence those channels. So that could be as simple as understand what's being said about you and being able to place comments on that particular channel, or maybe if you understand which one is of most benefit, you'll be able to pay for things like influencers on that particular social media outlet. So what we're trying to do is give the small business that know that word of mouth is what they live and die by, the ability to respond and measure exactly what's going on in the social media challenges. Okay, now it's time to assess the opportunity. Now, if we look at the macro of the market domain, we believe that there is a large number of customers. In fact, it's very close to a B2C type of scenario. There are so many small businesses out there that there is a very large segment. And our analysis shows that they're spending quite a bit of money on their social media campaigning. Not so much in terms of pure outlay, although they are doing that as well, but they also spend a lot of time on social media looking at their business when they could be spending that actually being productive within their business. So we believe there's a good opportunity there. Now, if we look at the micro level, we've certainly narrowed it down to hairdressers and automotive. A couple of reasons there. Again, we believe there's a lot there to be targeted. And these guys live and die by word of mouth. A bad review on Google or a bad review on Facebook can really be detrimental to these livelihoods of these people. So that's why we're targeting that area of that micro area of the industry. The segment is large, but it is quite stagnant. But the number of opportunities is extremely large, so we don't think that's a problem at all. Once we've conquered those two areas, we see that once we've proven out the model, that it can be expanded into other types of organisations like takeaway shops or bakeries or beauty parlours, all those types of organisations that live and die on small word of mouth marketing, but there's a lot of social channels to keep across to understand how their business is performing across those channels. Moving across, if we talk about the industry, we think that this is attractive to those industries because they are very dependent on word of mouth. The threat of other people entering is quite low because it takes high skill to do social media analytics, and we think we've got some real power to offer there. So we think we're attracted to the industry there. If we look at the competitive and economic stability at a micro level, that we think there's some real risk here that the discretionary spend on this for small business could be considered a risk factor. If a small business is doing not so well, they're quite likely to cut their spending pretty quickly, so we need to be able to prove real ROI into that space very well. We know the competitors are low. Competitors are doing this well are non-existent, especially using the power of machine learning and AI to automate those monitoring of those social media sentiments is non-existent in the market at the moment. There are other ways that people could, going back to the micro level, other ways that the businesses could do this. They could opt obviously to do this manually, and that would be a threat to us, and we would need to ensure that we keep proving that ROI to make sure that small businesses don't do it manually. And the cost of acquisition could become quite high, especially as we try to expand into other places other than our local area. The cost of acquisition could be quite high to actually gather someone for something that is going to be have to be priced relatively inexpensive to be attractive to that segment of the market. So that's a bit of a risk as well. The margins will be quite small. We'll have to rely on large number of customers to actually make it a decent margin in that space. Moving on to the team, this is probably the area where we have the biggest concerns. The mission is fine, and the ability to execute on CSFs. I personally have a strong belief in taking technology and actually proving out ROI, so that's fine. I also have a strong passion for machine learning and artificial intelligence and actually applying that to real business problems. So I think we're pretty good in that space. Where we start to run a high risk is in our connections up and down the markets. Both founders have a very corporate background, so actually moving into small business is a real risk for us. We're not that connected in that area, and we'd have to work hard to make the connections in the right place. The missions and aspirations, we're very much on point. Delivering value using machine learning and automation for small business to deliver value is certainly what we're about. So overall, we think we have the macro and micro well managed, but we see there's some risk in the alignment of the team to the market. So for customer selection, we decided to start with some businesses that are very prolific in our local area, and the first ones off the top of the list are hairdressers and automotive workshops. A couple of reasons why we've chosen those two particulars as our focus customers. A is because we have a network of people we already know in those industries that would be happy to pay for some of these services. And B, we think that if we can make the financial model work for the local industries in that segment, then we probably got a model that is sustainable moving forward. So for funding and cash flow management, we're definitely going to bootstrap this ourselves. We think that's the lowest risk strategy, is to start this up as lean as possible. And in fact, we're probably going to build a very low level MVP, which we think is still going to be palatable to the types of customers we've selected. And it could even be as simple as there's a user interface, but some of the smarter stuff behind the scenes we do manually to begin with. We have big plans for machine learning and analytics looking over social media data in the future. We may even just start with us doing that manually to prove out the business model before we get going. Once we've got a good couple of customers, then we're going to look to turn this into the subscription model. We'll talk about that in the which funding model we chose. So for we've definitely decided that this should be a customer funded model, and with that we are not looking to seek any outside investment at all, and we're looking to very much lean on the subscription model as described in the readings. Our current thoughts are that once we've proved out that the platform is a viable business model, we want to charge a subscription model to the service where we encourage people to sign up for 12 or 24 months, and we'll look at a little bit of a discount to encourage customers to sign up for that amount of time. And with that funding, we'll use that to develop the product as we move forward. And we can see as we grow, there'll be a rolling number of subscriptions, therefore giving us the cash flow to keep building on more features and functions going forward. So thanks for taking the time to listen to Know to Grow, our subscription-based startup idea. We think that it's a fairly low risk startup. It may work, it may not. We think it's a great idea, but we think this is a low risk way of actually proving out that it might work. Thanks for your time.